At this point in time, I can tell you that the gods have abandoned William Samoei Ruto. In the midst of this struggle to try and stop tomorrow's demonstrations, William Ruto receives bad news again from some civil rights groups in the USA. There is a new wave from the USA and the other partners like UK across Africa, and they want to ensure that all the African leaders embrace their culture. And in the middle of it is the LGBTQ. Barely a few months after Yoweri Kaguta Museveni signed into law the controversial anti-LGBTQ that has got some clause that warrants death, William Ruto is being pressured to veto the LGBTQ in Kenya. Otherwise, he's going to lose certain privileges as far as the letter that was written to Joe Biden is concerned. Why US groups want Biden to cancel Kenya trade deals? It's reported that US advocacy groups have called on the administration of US President Joe Biden to suspend talks on bilateral trade deal with Kenya until President Ruto vetoes anti-LGBTQ plus legislation. In a letter, the US civil society groups asked United States Trade Representative Catherine Tai to pause United States Kenya strategic trade and investment partnership negotiations until Ruto commits to vetoing the bill. If you know the Kenyan politics, just by reading that statement alone, you know that Ruto's goose is cooked. The last time we heard about the LGBTQ discussion in Kenya was a few months ago when the First Lady of US came to Africa, and to be precise in Kenya. And there was this talk. People thought that she came because there was that wave. People thought that she came to coerce Kenyans because we know that this is what they've been doing. William Ruto for a very long time kept quiet, and then it was passed through the back door. It was passed by the judiciary, where the Supreme Court in their bench ruling said that the LGBTQ family has got a freedom. They got the freedom of association. And lawyers argued and reasoned together because we have a law that outlaws LGBTQ, and so it is illegal to engage in any activity that pertains to the LGBTQ. Yet, on the other side, the Supreme Court gave them the green light of the right of association. As always, lawyers will tell you the law is very clear. The pro and against will tell you that the law is very clear. William Ruto was mute for some times until opposition leader Raila Amolo Odinga and the entire fraternity, the Azimio fraternity, and all the other concerned Kenyans challenged him to come out and state his position concerning the LGBTQ, because the last time we checked, William Ruto is a man of God. In fact, their win with Rigathi Gachagua came from God himself. And so people were wondering why he was so much quiet on a matter that goes against Christianity that he really professes to be. And so one day he just popped in and said that there isn't anything like LGBTQ that will sprout and take place as long as he is still in charge. And of course, the US ambassador to Kenya, Madam Meg Whitman, supported Ruto and said that they would not cajole anybody. They would not cajole the government because they saw the pressure that William Ruto was going through. And because I always tell you, Ruto is their child, Ruto is their project. You can see the way they have sent William Ruto to the African Union, speaking as if he's speaking against the dollar, yet it is their project. So they decided to embrace him, and they said that we will not compel anybody. But now this civil rights group is coming out because they want William Ruto atangaze msimamo. Hii mambo kusema mimi na mcha Mungu na huku pia mchanganyo sasa wataki. They have said that Ruto must now come out and set the record straight. He must come out and he must champion, he must veto in parliament the passage of the LGBTQ so that they have their freedom. In fact, they want William Ruto to legalize LGBTQ. Ruto is between a rock and a hard place. If it is going, because this letter has been written to the trade representative, Madam Catherine Tai. If this letter is going to be acted upon, then it will force William Ruto to come out and tell Kenyans, because at one point he does not want to displease Kenyans. On the other end, he's also trying to endear himself to their masters, the UK and the US, those who installed him as the president. What will he do? Of course, we've seen scenarios where he is acting to please the international community. The punitive taxes are dictates, some of the dictates of the international community, the IMF. And he has chosen at some point to please their masters at the expense of the people, the hustlers whom he promised that he would be there for them. But this time round, this pressure is just too much, because this is not our culture. And anytime you bring it on, even those who stand by your side will reject it. We all know that the second lady, Madam Dorcas, the wife to our vice president, has got a church. William Ruto himself has got a church, and the first lady Rachel has always come out to confess how prayers have always worked for her. How are they going to sit down, to sit pretty and watch their husbands, the president and the deputy president of Kenya, advocating for the LGBTQ? Really, it's going to be very difficult for them. What if the US writes a letter now directly to William Ruto, telling him of their intent to withdraw from the talks unless they come out clear and pass this bill in parliament? What is William Ruto going to do? And this is the reason why I'm saying that William Ruto is between a rock and a hard place. I don't know how he's going to maneuver, because the other time he was forgiven. What is William Ruto going to do? Because this debate alone, this statement is going to really spark a lot of debate. In Africa, majority of Africans are not ready to legalize things like LGBTQ. We see them happening around. We live with them around. But that is as far as it ends. I've heard rumors of it being very common in our institutions. But it is happening illegally. Now that the US has come out and they want William Ruto to legalize it, where are we headed? But then, I want to believe that when William Ruto was signing a deal with the US, this was part of the deal. This, together with the GMO and the other things, were part of the deals. And maybe he thought it was just a matter of signing. Now it is a moment of reckoning, and he has to come out very clearly. Atangaze msimamo. If Joe Biden is going to come on his aid, then he's very lucky. But if they so decide, because I saw the kind of reaction when Museveni, the president of Uganda, signed the controversial bill, how USA came out with guns blazing, and all the allies came out and condemned Museveni. But you see, the difference between Museveni and our president is that Museveni stands his ground. Our president is always very cunning. He will talk and talk, but those talks are not followed with any action. And that's why I always say that we should not even try and compare William Ruto to the late Mama Gaddafi, to the late Magufuli. Those beloved late presidents talked and they walked the talk. But on our side, William Ruto will be speaking huge, speaking as if he's condemning the USA. But when you come back home, you will realize that they are working very closely. And it tells you that those talks are just meant to hoodwink people, and in fact, he is placed there as a Trojan horse to ensure that he represents their interests. That might save William Ruto, because they might not want to interfere with him. He's such an orator, very cunning, and they want to use those talents to infiltrate Africa, because there is an altercation, an economic, social, and political altercation between the West and the East. And the West have identified William Ruto as their point man. With this, they might not want to lose him, because they want to use him. So this might be the only saving grace. We want to see, we'll be following up what the US ambassador to Kenya will say. Because the other time when there was pressure, she said that she would not compel William Ruto or Kenyans if they were not very ready. Now William Ruto has to choose between the money, because he needs money so much, that is why he's overtaxing people, or to abide by what the people want. And ladies and gentlemen, as I told you, the gods have run away from him. He's battling the demonstrations that is now going to take place thrice in a week. The United Nations Human Rights Watchdog has given a warning and telling William Ruto to go slow on demonstrators who are doing it peacefully. And now another thing coming from the international community, he has to come out and veto this if the talks have to continue. Really? Did he bite more than he can chew? The most difficult thing to be is becoming the president of Kenya.